Welcome to the first 2019 Nintendo stuff, gentlemen.
It's 2019? When did
We
that
made
happen?
it. We are
Paul,
in...
you're alive.
I'm
Yo,
alive?
whoa, hey, Paul, what are you
When
doing
did that
here?
happen?
And where am I? Where am I? Can you believe this background? Can you believe this? I can't believe I'm in Super Smash Bros.
I
Who would have
couldn't
thunk
believe
it?
either, 'cause I couldn't see
2019.
anything.
I am the the next character.
Good start to the year, boys.
Good
Yep,
start.
feeling it.
Getting
Oh,
demonetized.
all right.
Little
Well,
things,
we
you know.
have quite a show for you. We're going to be talking about Nintendo's 2018 in 2019 in the future here, and quite a lot happened in 2018. And we'll just go ahead and we'll talk about it, and then we have some thoughts at the very end as well. Brandon, if you'd like to lead us off here, my dude. Or actually, I mean, the first game on this list, Paul has some most of the experience with. So I think we should have
yeah.
Paul talk.
So for January, Celeste dropped. And if you guys haven't heard, Celeste is a really good game. And if you haven't played it, I'm disappointed in you.
Oh,
I'm very disappointed in you.
well,
It
continue
was
to
also
be...
like the only game in January.
January's pretty
Is
slow.
that real? Like, is that really is that the only notable game in January, or just like the only game of January?
The only notable game.
Okay, that makes a
Uh,
lot more sense.
Yeah, that's kind of how we approached this list for everything that you're going to see on here, as we go down through the rest of the year.
Yeah, because Xenoblade was released in December of 2017.
Yeah, that's something we
So-
shouldn't forget.
Right. So, I mean, that kind of, spilled over into 2019. So that was their release cycle, right? For Nintendo in particular. They were like, okay, we got the big game out of the way, so we don't need anything for January necessarily. Anyway, I digress.
That said, Celeste is a pretty good start to the year, despite not being a game from Nintendo itself. It did release on Switch, and that's the approach we're going to be taking.
Yeah, this game got a push. Wasn't it revealed in one of like Nintendo's like Nindy showcases?
I believe it was, yeah.
Yeah, and so it definitely got a big push there.
Unfortunately, I never got a chance to play it, but it did get nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards, which is pretty cool.
It's pretty big, especially if you're an indie game.
Well, it's a very charming indie game. Like, everything about that game is just so full of charm. And just the amount of accessibility to the game is just baffling to me, even still. You can approach it, you can make it more difficult if you need it to be. But if you also, just want to play it casually, they added options in to allow you to do that.
Yeah.
It was a very nice touch.
Well, moving on to February, it's another small year, but another another small month. But Paul, I'm actually going to have you take this one again, because you actually played these two games.
So Bayonetta 1 and 2. And these are games that, like, I know, Brandon, you've been telling me that I need to play for a very long time. And so when it finally came to Switch, it was my chance. So I picked both of these up, and I kind of breezed through them because they're not particularly long games.
No.
But I had so much fun playing through these two. The story is very wild, and just everything about it is just so over the top. And it was so easy to get sucked into it.
Yeah, it has kind of this charming personality where it doesn't take itself incredibly too seriously. But it keeps like blowing your mind with the things that Bayonetta and the people of this world are capable of. Because there's seemingly no rules.
Yeah.
There are a
Man,
few rules, but like, Bayonetta can walk on walls and upside down as long as the full moon is out.
I wish I
little things like
had
that.
more time to like throw a game in here like this. I mean, there's also the monetary cost, right? But these are games, especially with I'll probably get around to playing these games before Bayonetta 3 drops. At least I would hope so. And with that statement, there's kind of a hope that that game doesn't come out in 2019, but that's really just a selfish reason. So I have time to finish and get the first two before the third one comes out.
Well, I mean,
I'd
once
be
you get one
shocked
and
if it
two,
didn't come
wouldn't
out.
take you very long.
Yeah. I mean, how long did 1 and 2 even take you, Paul?
I finished all of them in like a week, and that was playing with very short like free time at the end of the day. So I just did like a couple of chapters at a time, and a week was done.
They're not any longer than 10 or 15 hours apiece.
Yeah, and like some of the chapters in those games aren't particularly long or difficult either.
No. It's interesting when you play Bayonetta 1 and 2 back to back, you can see all of the improvements between the first game to the second game. Because there are a lot of them.
Well, you can also like just the story of two gets so much more ridiculous. I didn't know if they could manage that, and then they did. They completely blew the first game out of the water with their just antics.
Which is crazy, because the first game I thought had a really fun story.
Yeah,
So hopefully they can top themselves again. We haven't seen Bayonetta 3 since its reveal at the Game Awards in 2017. And it looks like Bayonetta's going back to her first outfit design rather than coming up with a new one. At least that's what it looks like for right now. But that said, pretty excited for that. Hopefully that comes out this year. If I were to put a date on it, I would probably say October.
it's a good month for it.
Yeah,
Conman
seems
is
about
saying
right.
Christmas, but I don't think they would put Bayonetta 3 in their big holiday spot. That's going to go to something like, well, that depends. I guess if they have Pokemon in November, and like a big Mario game or a Metroid in October, then I could see it being in December. It really just depends on how that all plays out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like either Bayonetta will come out in the very, very late part of the year in December, or it would get released earlier, maybe in like September, right? Because, you know, we talk about, I mean, you mentioned like Pokemon. Pokemon's a November game, like, no question about it, right?
Yeah, that's its spot. That
Yeah.
doesn't change.
So other than that, like if they have another big game for this year, around that time, I anticipate that it would be October.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. That brings us to March, where the only tentpole release or big release is Kirby Star Allies. And in addition to that, over the course of the year was 3 waves of free DLC. So I picked up Kirby Star Allies. I had a pretty good time with it. It's a pretty by-the-books Kirby game. So if you played like Kirby Superstar or Kirby Triple Deluxe, there isn't a whole lot of new there. I think that's the biggest issue people had, was that it played it way too safe. And the 4-player co-op never felt like it was too well balanced for the difficulty, because you could take out bosses within seconds of the match starting,
Well,
even on high difficulty.
yeah, at the very same time, you know, Kirby is an easier, you know, series for the most part. And in the same breath, you know, when I was working at Target, I would sometimes see like young children playing demos, and a lot of the times it would be Kirby, right? And you could see them, you could hear them, and they were having like a blast, right? And so having a game that's just that easy for like kids that young, sometimes, like, you know, having a game like that, maybe it won't appeal to us, maybe it won't appeal to the core gamers, but it's important for Nintendo to have those kinds of games. And I don't know, it just kind of warmed my heart to hear like children screaming out of joy because they, you know, sucked up a sword ability and then were just slashing down enemies with it, right? So I'll give credit to Kirby where it's due, right? Even though it was maybe a little bit too easy for some people's likings. That
If you want to
being
hear more about what I want or what I thought about that game going through, there's a review on the channel back in April, I think. So you can check that out. In addition to the base game, there was 3 waves of free DLC where they added more characters. And with those characters came stages as well. I haven't had a chance to go back to any of that yet, but now that all of the DLC is out, I think that's a pretty good excuse to just go there and see what it's all about.
yeah.
They added a lot of heroes and in some cases villains from across the Kirby series, like Marks, who is a spoiler, is a boss in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. You can play as him in just like the regular game. That's pretty cool. So I
Yeah.
think they did a neat job with the DLC there. I don't even feel like Kirby Star Allies was a game that needed DLC, but
You
they
got
did
it.
it anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm down with that. Bringing us to April. Up until this point, we had a direct mini, and then we had a full-fledged direct in March, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you guys remember, because this is the direct that announced the Octo expansion alongside Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Yeah.
So that's the first major direct of the year outside of the direct mini, which I believe was in January, early February.
Yeah.
And then right after that, they had an additional presentation where they announced Nintendo Labo. And in April, Labo Kits 1 and 2 released. And none of us got to play that because wholly expensive, for one thing.
Oh yeah.
But
It looks fun, but
what do you guys think about Labo?
I think it's great. Like, it's a good way to kind of get children interested in building and kind of the sciences and mathematics, and kind of disguise learning as play. I think it's a great set for the system and good system seller.
Yeah.
It's just a great thing for children. Like,
I
I'm jealous of kids because I want this.
Yeah, and here's the thing, the framing that before they even like showed off what it was, they were like, here's an announcement for children and children at heart, and that's kind of it. It's just like a really cool toy that also utilizes the Switch, right? That's kind of how I view it. It's like an extension of the Switch much more than it is just, here's a game. And with the flexibility in which it's like, okay, build something out of cardboard. It could be anything. And then we have like all of this built-in functionality so you can program stuff and just make stuff like as customizable as you want. And that was kind of the spirit of it, and I've seen some really cool things since then.
Yeah, they had those Nintendo Labo build contests where they, challenged kids and adults across the country to build their greatest Labo creations, and we saw some pretty cool stuff come out of that, from different types of games to just, software.
Yeah.
Just lots of neat stuff, and all that's still going on even now. That said, I think Nintendo is disappointed with the performance of Labo because I don't think it's reaching the numbers that they were hoping.
Yeah.
So as of right now, I wouldn't say Labo was a failure. I think Labo just needs a little more time in the oven.
Yeah.
We haven't had a lot of Labo come out.
Yeah. Also, the price point, right? So
It is, yeah, it's pretty expensive.
It was a little bit more expensive. I mean, it's expensive enough committing $60 to a game,
And that's what they're charging you here. Is they're charging you $60 for the software and then like $20 or $30 for the cardboard.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's really that, people have to spend their money wisely and depending on where you're at, and there's a multitude of factors that could go into it other than just like, people buying it for its own merits,
Right.
So I don't think, I hope they don't see this as it's not a success, because I'd love to see more kits, and I'd
This
love to
should
get
be
the
an
chance
inspiration to try harder, I think.
Yeah.
They've already proven that you can do so many different things with Labo just based on all of the people who have participated in these contests. And I think that should be inspiration back to the developers too to come up with cool ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, this actually kind of marks a turning point in the year. Looking at the list here, as I was filling it out, there was not a whole lot in each individual month leading up to May. Once we hit May, there's just an explosion of quality content releasing on the Switch every month all the way through the end of the year.
Yeah.
Starting with May, we had Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 and Legacy Collection 2. Keep in mind, this is 4 ports. We're 4 ports deep. Runner 3, which was a new game, and then Pokemon Quest, which was a smartphone game put on the Switch. Despite all of the ports in this month, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is one of the greatest platformers ever made, in my opinion. Hyrule Warriors, another fantastic game that released on the Wii U that didn't quite reach, the biggest audience that it could because of the platform it launched on. And then Mega Man Legacy Collections 1 and 2. It's just important to have all of those available on Switch regardless.
Yeah. Well,
especially with Mega Man 11 coming out.
Yeah. You mentioned that all these are ports, but they're all ports of like games that I didn't play.
Yeah, same.
So
I was
going
gonna
to another
say.
opportunity
Key point,
to sit
yeah.
down and play.
Yeah. Yeah, there was
especially with like Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze, and Hyrule Warriors being on the Wii U. I had a Wii U, but I didn't have the money to get software for it. And so now is the time that I can go back and get all those games I wanted to play on my Wii U and just couldn't.
Yeah. I was going to say, this is something that I feel that most gaming outlets really miss. And it's mostly because like all of these gaming outlets get review copies, and most of people, have access to like other copies through their friends and such. But for like, where we're at, like we don't make a ton of money, and so we have to pick and choose certain games, right?
Yeah.
Especially if like I'm buying green screens and other things. Like I could have bought a game, or I could have dropped money on something else. And I haven't touched Tropical Freeze. I think I've maybe played like the first few levels. Probably on your Wii U, Brandon.
I think it was.
So I think, let's see. I believe Tropical Freeze. I wonder what the sales were comparatively on the Switch.
I don't
versus the
know.
Wii U.
Tropical Freeze released at a price point $10 higher on Switch than it did on Wii U.
What a weird. Yeah, like we all thought it was weird. Then they're like, "Oh, it's $50 on Wii U." Like, hey guys, it's not exactly a $60 title.
When it launched for $50 on Wii U, I was more incentivized to buy it. Same with Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. But to release it as a $60 game, not to say that it isn't worth $60. I did previously say this is one of the best platformers ever made, and I'm sticking to that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird, and for people who were, players of the Wii U version or just on the Wii U in the first place, this doesn't look quite right. So I don't know if, Switch cartridge costs were, a factor in this or what. But it seems like just a lot of games releasing on Switch are coming in at higher price points than other systems.
I believe I believe it's about perception. That was my thing, and maybe they said something about it. I feel like
the portability tax.
Well, no, I think it was about quality, right? So when you release it at $50, it's like, okay, this is really only a $50 title. It's only so good. But when you're like, oh, it's a $60 game. Oh, okay. So this we're getting everything. You're getting the full package, right? This isn't like a budget title, which,
right. You made a good point, but I just realized why it was $10 more. Because it had a new funky mode.
Oh yeah,
that's definitely worth the money.
Of all the games that released this month, if you haven't played Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, I implore you to play it. It is a very challenging game. Just keep that in mind. This game will kick your butt.
That's why funky mode's in there.
That's why funky mode's in there. But it's such a beautiful game with fantastic music, incredible level design. The people over at Retro Studios are unbelievable at level design for platformers. It blows my mind. Like whenever I go back and play Tropical Freeze and I just see the ridiculous things that they came up with. It's absolutely fantastic. So that's my recommendation for the month of May of 2018. But we'll move on to June because June has quite a lot of stuff in it. We'll also talk about E3 before we move out of June. So the games that released are Just Shapes and Beats, the Splatoon 2 Octo expansion, Sushi Striker: The Way of Sushido, Fortnite, Hollow Knight, Paladins, Mario Tennis Aces, Mario and Rabbids: The DK Adventure, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, and Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. So still, there are a few ports in here, but there's a lot more first-party Nintendo content as well as like heavy-hitting third-party software.
Yeah.
Splatoon 2 Octo expansion is the single-player mode that Splatoon 2 needed the first time. I 100%ed it, and I had a blast.
I still haven't finished it.
It has the most fantastic ending, and I've been wanting to talk to you about it since it came out. Beat it, please.
Yeah, I probably should.
It's not even that hard.
Debatable, but okay.
Yeah, Brandon, you're just good at video games. Get out
You
of
gotta
here.
play maybe like a third of the levels to you know,
To
fight
actually
the boss.
finish it, yeah, I know.
You think I'm good enough to beat a third of the levels? I appreciate your optimism and belief in me.
I
Brandon.
believe in you. Don't you want to play as your Octoling?
Yeah, that's why I bought the expansion.
This is one of the best pieces of DLC I've ever seen a company release. It feels like a fully featured campaign. Well, it is, but it's something more than I've seen from other companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's just as long as the original Splatoon 2 campaign, but it brings so many fresh ideas and it does stuff that the main game never did before. And I feel like a lot of DLC in the AAA space are just expanding on things that they've already done. While I haven't played the Spider-Man DLC yet, that's one of the things I heard about that. You know, it's just more Spider-Man and didn't bring anything new to the table, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot to say about that, but I won't talk about it here.
But in the case of Splatoon 2, that DLC does so much for that game, and it actually really makes me excited for a Splatoon 3 because they're definitely not out of ideas yet. Let's see. Other big releases this month. Well, I guess we'll talk more about DLC. Mario and Rabbids DK Adventure was another fully featured, like full-length campaign DLC. This time from Ubisoft. I haven't gotten to play this one either, unfortunately, but
Yeah,
It's my biggest regret, I think, of like 2018 is not buying that and playing through it.
I feel you. This is definitely something that I'm going to go back to like before the end of next year. You know, they came up with, you know, new characters and new combat strategies for the DLC. Like Donkey Kong has his own attacks. Like there's the boomerang banana. He can also like slam the ground. He can pick up anything and throw it at anything else, which I think is a really cool mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
And it has music by Grant Kirkhope, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and you can never go wrong with that. And it's about 10 to 15 hours long. Like for what it was, like what, 15, 20 bucks? That's a great
Yeah.
price for that much content.
Also, that being said, for those of you who haven't bought the game, the gold edition is on sale on the eShop right now. It is normally $80. It is currently $26.39.
Not
For the
bad.
gold edition?
For
That's
the
a
gold edition,
steal.
that's like really cheap. That's
Buy
like
it!
that might be the cheapest you'll get it before it's just completely irrelevant 10 years from now.
Buy the game. If you haven't bought it, buy it now. That's crazy.
I'm kind
Well,
of
it's just such a
upset that
delightful
I
game
paid
by
$30
itself.
for the base game, which still wasn't a bad price. But man, that's wow, what a price!
What was that, Paul?
That game was just so charming. Like the base game,
Oh, for sure.
nothing about it wasn't like just amazing.
it's crazy how good that game is. Like even looking back at it over a year and a half later,
We
like
didn't
that game,
deserve it, but we
that
got
game
it anyway.
happened.
It was a thing that exists and still exists, and it feels like it has no right to exist, but it does.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason the game should be that good.
Conman says, I can't get past the ghost area. It gets so ridiculously hard. That game doesn't hold back. And I think that might be one of its greatest strengths. Like, it might have Mario on the cover, but it does mean business, like, when you start playing. And there's extra challenges after you beat the game that are even harder than that. I remember watching my wife fight the final boss for, like, several days before she could finally beat it.
I still
But,
need to beat it, but
Yeah, so I do too. I'm right at the end too. That's the most upsetting thing.
I'm upset that I haven't beaten it just because I like turn-based like strategy like so much, right?
Hmm.
It's also another question is like why haven't I like played through XCOM, because they're essentially the same game, just different aesthetics.
That's even harder.
Yeah. I'll get around to it eventually, but probably finish this game first.
Sushi Striker kind of came out and kind of got forgotten about, unfortunately. And that's a new first-party IP from Nintendo. Am I right?
Yeah. I think everybody's collective reaction was like, wait, this is a Nintendo game?
It's not like that game didn't have anything going for it, because
Yeah.
there's a demo on the eShop, and I played it, and there's like fully animated anime cutscenes with voice acting, and there's a full-fledged story. And the gameplay is fun. I'm not super into puzzle games, so it's already not appealing to me on that front.
It
And I
was
think that
also
might be the issue.
yeah, it was also full price on both the 3DS and the Switch, which meant it was $40 on the 3DS and $60 on the Switch.
What I heard from a lot of people is like 3DS was the way to go, even from a gameplay standpoint.
Oh, probably with the touch
stylus.
controls. Yeah, it seemed like a 3DS game that was released on the Switch.
Yeah.
So, unless it had touch controls on the Switch, which I don't know if it did or not.
In addition to that, it did have touch controls on the
Okay.
Switch. I'm pretty sure. Fortnite came out. We don't need to say much about that. It's a fantastic get for Nintendo. I think that's the more important aspect here.
Also, it is installed on over half of all Switches, which is an impressive feat even for a free-to-play game. But
Yeah,
also,
definitely.
it's Fortnite, so nobody should be surprised.
In addition to Fortnite, another free-to-play game came out, Paladins. I have not tried Paladins yet. I've often heard it compared to Overwatch. Maybe I'll give it a shot and see what that's all about.
I've heard good things about it. I've never tried it myself, but I've heard good things about it.
And I should mention a lot of these, FPS games or third-person shooters are adding motion controls for Switch as an option, or like gyro controls. I think is a more appropriate term.
So dreams do come
Yes.
true if you believe
Heck yeah.
enough.
I know it's in Fortnite. It's in Wolfenstein. I'm not sure if it's in Paladins. Oh, it's in Splatoon 2 Octo Expansion.
Splatoon has motion controls? What?
Wow.
When did that happen? Seriously. You gotta be kidding me.
And I guess, Wolfenstein 2, another port from, what's the name
Panic
of that company?
button.
Panic Button.
Yep.
Continuing to do great work on Switch. Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, another good get for Switch. Hollow Knight, that was a kind of a big game for you, Paul.
Oh yeah, that was a great game. I still haven't beaten it because I'm not good at it. But that's another game that just has so much charm to it. The soundtrack, the art style, the gameplay, it's all really solid. And it's what is the price point? It's like $15, I think. And I think it
so.
had a bunch of expansions included in that. So it's
Yeah.
40 hours of content for $15. You can't go wrong with Hollow Knight.
Yeah, it's really good. I have it on my Switch as well. I've not played it a ton, but what I've played of it has been incredibly impressive. If it wasn't so daunting of a game in terms of difficulty, I probably would be farther right now. It's just one of those things that comes with old age, and I say old age, older age, and adult life, where harder games don't fit into my schedule as much anymore because I don't have the time to commit.
Yeah,
My
unless that's your,
reflexes
like-
aren't what they were when I was a boy. When I was a lad.
I was gonna say, unless that's like your source of revenue, right? When it's definitely not at this point. It's hard to justify struggling against a game and not having fun with a game, right?
Yeah, don't be afraid to switch games down to easy and don't feel bad about it.
Yeah.
That's why
uh,
funky mode.
For June,
That's why they make those modes.
Yeah. I think of all these games in June, the biggest one for me outside of the Splatoon 2 Octo expansion was the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, which I picked up at a later date. I picked it up off a friend, and that was a big nostalgia play. I was kind of waiting for that to come to the Switch. I haven't even beaten the first game because that game really kind of shows its age in terms of design. But
It's a common thing between Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, where the first game and the remake, isn't that great?
Yeah.
But that said, we'll move on. Well, I guess we should talk about E3 really quick. This E3 for Nintendo was much like the last couple years of E3, where they focus very heavily on a single game. That said, we did actually get some additional announcements, like Daemon X Machina, which is a game I'm more interested in as we see more of it.
Mm-hmm.
I like mechs, I like mech anime, and this is both of those things.
And it's a video game.
And that too. And it's multiplayer online, I think.
Oh.
And that was like, that perked my ears up at the end. I was
Yeah,
like,
that
"Ooh."
kind of didn't make it into my mind until now.
Yeah, so that's a game I'm looking at. That's how they opened their presentation. When we were watching it for the first time, it was like, why are they doing it like this? But after seeing the whole thing, it makes sense. This is a game people aren't familiar with. This is how you open up the show, because it will get forgotten about even more if it shows up like after Fire Emblem Three Houses, which we also saw.
Yeah.
Which also looks great.
Yeah, and that's slated for this year. I'm incredibly excited for that game. I've grown more and more of a Fire Emblem fan ever since Awakening came out. I'm also a fan of Radiant Dawn on Wii, despite how incredibly difficult that game is, mostly due to translation errors. How do you mess up the name of a difficulty level, guys?
Very carefully.
Very carefully. I still haven't finished Awakening.
Awakening's so good.
Yeah.
Please.
I hear you. You and everybody else. Like, my younger sister has beaten Awakening, and then I think, which was I think it was Birthright. I think she finished Birthright, like, twice.
Did she play the other two campaigns?
I don't think so. I think she just got that one. Oh, she might have. I think my brother picked up, like, the secondary one. But I don't think either
While I
played
like the idea of like the 3 campaign thing for Fire Emblem Fates, I do hope we kind of simplify things again.
I would have been more open to the idea if it... Because initially my impressions of that game was that they were all one game with branching story paths based on decisions.
One choice at the beginning of the game you make.
So, anyway...
So yeah, we had Fire Emblem Three Houses was announced. Super Mario Party was announced, a game that I ended up really liking. And that ended up coming out in October, I want to say. We saw a little bit more of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. And there was a few other things sprinkled in there, I think, that were smaller. And then, on the back end of the presentation, was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which was the ever-famous Everyone is Here reveal that blew everybody's minds.
Blew my mind.
Oh, yeah.
I still haven't gotten it back.
I think it's a good thing that they did their presentation that way, because, you know, if they had done that full Smash Brothers presentation with Everyone is Here, but they had another game in there like Animal Crossing, Animal Crossing would have got completely drowned in terms of the internet. Like, it wouldn't have been talked about.
Oh, yeah.
I think they strategized this well, And now Smash Brothers is out, and we're going to start hearing about those other games. Hint, hint, there might be a direct next week. So yeah, overall, I think their E3 presentation this year was pretty strong if you were a Smash fan, and was incredibly disappointing if you were a fan of any other thing. Because
Yeah.
even I was feeling the burn a little bit because, you know, I was so excited for Smash, but, you know, I had that Metroid Prime 4
Yeah.
in the back of my mind, too.
You know, going back to your comments about like the announcement schedule that, you know, Nintendo has going on, and noting that like if Animal Crossing was revealed, then like it would have just been drowned out. At the very same time, it feels like we get less on average. Well, actually, we get about the same on average, but it's more well paced in terms of announcements. And then Nintendo does a really good job of announcing things and then them being released relatively shortly afterwards, right? So you don't have to wait that long. So, what direct was it? Maybe I'll talk about that once we get to that month, right? Where they revealed Animal Crossing. And
That's September.
okay, yeah, because they do a good job.
If there's anything we can say about like their strategy for this year, 2018, they did an excellent job. They did such a great job with the way they revealed information this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. They do get flack for revealing games like Metroid Prime 4, but time and again, you gotta recognize, you know, the situation. They revealed that in an E3 Direct, where they were also about to reveal a 2D Metroid game on the 3DS in a state where people were very hungry for Switch games and especially hungry for Metroid games. If they had announced Metroid Samus Returns without Metroid Prime 4, there would have been rioting.
Yeah. I think sometimes it's kind of a lose-lose situation. Like they have to weigh like you know, consumer and public response, you know, when they're making these decisions, cuz you know, in one sense, we're announcing a game and we're going to release it relatively shortly afterwards. So we got the Smash Bros announcement earlier this year, earlier in 2018, at the very end of 2018 we got the game. That's a pretty good window, you know. It's not too egregious.
Shortest release window we've had from reveal to release since Melee, I think, for a Smash game.
So, and with something like Metroid Prime 4, it's been so long and people have been so hungry for a new Metroid Prime, right?
And we had, you know, they had experience in this.
Yeah.
The response to Federation Force is legendary for being terrible.
Also, I think in addition to that, like, we were coming up on a year that was light on new releases and a lot heavier on re-releases. And it's not like those re-releases were unwarranted, but it's hard to keep up the hype sometimes when you're like, this game was released before, right? Even if nobody else like actually played it, right? Because it was on the Wii U. And so announcing something like Metroid Prime 4 and its existence was like, hey guys, here's a huge reason to be excited, and there's already a bunch of other reasons to buy your Switch, right? But just knowing that Metroid Prime 4 is down the road, you know, that can also be a big motivating factor.
I should also quickly mention, despite the response to Federation Force being negative, it's not a bad game.
Yeah, that's what R-Ran is saying in the chat.
Yeah, I'm reinforcing a statement.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they've nailed down how they announce things, and the timing of that. There are a few more announcements for the year of 2018 that we'll get to a little bit later here. But we'll move out of E3. But quickly, do you guys think it was a good year at E3 for Nintendo?
It was Smash. Like, yeah.
I'm a Smash fan, so yeah, it was a good year.
So,
yeah, and we had the Smash Invitational, which was really fun to watch. More fun to watch than the original Invitational for Smash 4, because they definitely learned a little bit about what the competitive community likes to see.
Yeah.
And they integrated a little bit more of that into the experience.
I'm also really glad that like Smash Ultimate got released relatively like early in the Switch's life cycle, right? Just
Yeah.
because of like the nature of that game and its popularity. And when I say the nature of the game, I mean like look at all of these characters. Like you've put everything on the Switch all at once in a sense. You know what
Smash
I mean?
is like Smash is the game that comes out that identifies the system.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, I wouldn't say it identified N64, but it definitely identified the GameCube, especially being a game that came out in week 1 of the GameCube's launch. It identifies the Wii for me because Brawl probably has the most gameplay time out of me, next to maybe Monster Hunter Tri,
Yeah.
another game that identifies the Wii for me. Smash 4 doesn't quite have the same effect on Wii U. That said, it was the only game we were playing on Wii U in the last year.
I was about to say, like, it's the only thing that I can really like. I have memories of playing on my Wii U.
There was Tri Ultimate.
I played
but
that the majority of that on my 3DS.
See,
So
and I
didn't
was
even
the
have
opposite.
That in my Wii U.
Right, and I mean that shouldn't be a knock against either the 3DS or the Wii U. It's a plus to both that it came out on both systems. And it led to us having a lot of fun times in the dorm room.
Oh yeah.
And that's what introduced you to Monster Hunter for the most part, Logan.
Oh yeah, no. Well, yes, technically.
For the most
No,
part.
Because
Yes,
like I was
no,
gonna
yeah.
say, like I picked up Try like years after it was released on the Wii, and I like started playing. I was like, I don't get it, and this was before I knew you guys. And then I was like, I never played it again. And then we all got together at college, and I was like, wait, I tried playing this game once, and then I put like 300 hours into it.
We'll move on to July. We got a port of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, both releasing on Switch and Nintendo 3DS.
I still want to pick that up.
It's a fantastic game, and it's underrated, and I love it, and I want another Captain Toad game. Please play it. Octopath Traveler came out, which was the big release of the month. Sonic Mania Plus, the $5 DLC expansion to Sonic Mania, which added Mighty and Ray, as well as an encore mode to the main campaign. And then Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1 and 2, which is not a port. It was actually a new game at the time. A new game that features ports of old games. So obviously you know how I feel about Captain Toad. Play that. It did remove some content from the Wii U version. It removed the 3D world-inspired levels and replaced them with Odyssey-inspired levels.
Why would they just take that out?
Because they also changed the story a little bit.
Okay.
There's a reveal at the end of Captain Toad on Wii U, which is no longer the ending of the game. They changed it.
Okay.
Gotcha.
It was a cool moment for someone who played 3D World, and I still don't know how I feel about that change, but whatever. We'll save Octopath for last. Sonic Mania Plus, not much to say about that. I loved the original Sonic Mania. I've not played the DLC yet. I didn't feel particularly driven to buy it because, it adds 2 characters in the Encore mode, which is cool, but I don't see myself ever buying that until I'm ready to just play Sonic Mania again.
Mhm.
That said, it's only $5. So, when that time comes, I'll probably spend them.
This
actually
is a
just
game I
realized-
haven't beat as well. There's so many games.
I beat
That
it in
is-
under 5 hours, Logan.
Yeah,
Come on.
and I got stuck on a level, and then I went back to it the other day and tried to play it for an hour, and I didn't make any progress.
It's not even that hard.
Don't
Sonic
yell at
Mania is
me!
that game that like
Stop!
Sonic Mania is that game that I've been waiting. Like, I keep thinking to myself, I need to buy this. I need to pick this up. I want to play it, and then I always forget about it. And every time it's mentioned, it's like, oh yeah, it's that game I need to buy, and then I still haven't.
Buy the physical edition of Sonic Mania Plus. It's a really good package.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, I
well,
forgot
good.
they released that.
It looks really pretty.
So for
Like
me,
sometimes I
honestly,
just want to buy the physical edition because I was like, that box looks really fun.
I got the collector's edition with the cool Sega Genesis Sonic statue.
Yeah, you did.
yeah, you didn't.
Yeah, you did. And then it also Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1 and 2, which brought the entirety of the Mega Man X legacy of games to Switch. And it was the first time they were ever packaged together, as far as I understand. I haven't picked those up. I don't have a big connection to Mega Man X. I've played the first one and I really like that. But I heard that it just kind of goes downhill as you go. I've heard maybe you should only buy the first pack and not the second one.
I'll never forget Egoraptor's sequelitis.
Great, fantastic video. Yeah.
Yeah, and you play the game and you're like, oh, I see what he's saying, even though it's still a really difficult game, especially if you're not used to that era.
A great like analytical look at game design. If you haven't seen that video, definitely give it a watch. It's really eye-opening and really cool. But the big thing for the month of July was Octopath Traveler. I've only played the demo of Octopath Traveler. You guys know I'm not a big like traditional RPG kind of guy. That said, I did like what I played. I just don't know specifically if it's for me yet, and I'm not willing to pull the trigger to find out.
Yeah, this is just one of those games that like is on my list, and I think it's probably higher than a lot of games that I haven't bought. But again, it's still $60, and there was other priorities, right? Especially like getting into that latter half of the year. There was a lot of upcoming games, and you know, I wasn't sure where I was going to be, and so I couldn't commit $60, and I'd still really love to drop $60 on this game because it got fantastic reviews, and I am a fan, very much a fan of the gameplay and the feel of this game.
Paul, have you had a chance to touch this one yet?
I have not.
Fair enough.
Something that I've been wanting to, and like, it appeals to me. I just don't want to spend the money on it. I don't want to try the demo because I know that I want to spend the money on it, and I don't have the money to.
And it's the kind of demo where it lets you save and pick up when you buy it.
It's just too dangerous for me. So I've been trying to like avoid it and push it out of my mind.
That said, we should talk about some of the things that Octopath has done as a result of its really good sales number for being a new IP, specifically a classic, Japanese RPG released in the West. I think it overperformed for Square Enix, like what their expectations were.
Yeah.
And because of that, they have a Nintendo Switch development division now, specifically tailored to games for Switch. This was an exclusive Square Enix RPG, which is big enough on its own, if you ask me. This bodes really well for Nintendo, I think. There's going to be a great partnership between them and Square Enix from now on. And I don't think this is the last we've seen of the Octopath Traveler engine. I wouldn't even be surprised if we see some classic RPGs remade in this engine, like Final Fantasy VI or 3, if you're talking the West number.
Or a sequel.
Or a sequel to Octopath. Who knows? I would rather than maybe do a remake first before going back.
What would the sequel be called? Would it be Octopath Traveler 2, or would they just double the number and it would be like 16 Tet Traveler?
Good question.
I've heard the
stories of the characters don't interweave the way that people were hoping.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a goal for the next iteration of Octopath.
Yeah.
But that's the big release of July. That brings us to August. We've got Dead Cells, Overcooked 2, a remake, well, not remake, but a port of Okami, Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, and The Messenger. So Dead Cells and The Messenger, 2 big indie titles coming to Switch.
What, and Overcooked 2 is not a big indie title? Yeah.
Can you call indie titles big? Is that even appropriate?
Minecraft was indie at one point.
Right, but I don't even think that applies anymore.
No, not anymore. But I mean, it was huge before it came out of indie. So yes, there are huge indie titles.
There's Undertale too, I guess.
Rocket League was from an independent developer.
Cave Story
still is an independent developer.
Story.
Yeah, there's a lot of big indies. It's indie is like independent, right? So some of these independent studios have gotten quite big over the last few years.
The thing with Dead Cells and Messenger is the fact that they are 2 indie games that reached a much wider audience.
Yes.
One of them may have something to do with that IGN review. That said, it's a stellar game.
Yep. Yeah, everybody talks about how much they love that game when they played it. So
I haven't played The Messenger, but Logan, you have.
I have, yeah. I'm still making my way through it. I heard it was part Metroidvania, and I was like, yes, please. And then I started playing it, and it controls really well. I like the visuals a lot. I like the humor a lot. There's a ton of really good humor in this game.
That has like an 8-bit to 16-bit like switch.
I believe
right?
so. I haven't gotten to that Switch yet, though. Oh.
You haven't
Switch.
played a whole lot of the game then, have you?
I've played a few hours worth. Enough
Okay.
to get a feel of how the game works and to start getting into the more difficult areas of the game.
If you're looking for good multiplayer fun, Overcooked 2, I think, is a fantastic get for Switch. It launched on Switch the day the game launched, which is happening more and more frequently as we get further into the Switch lifecycle. Good online local multiplayer. We have a stream that we did when it first came out that you can check out. Okami, a Zelda-like made by Capcom, released in the PS2 era. Fantastic game. Very wordy, so if you like to read, then there's a lot
I
of
guess
that.
I'm out.
I've played through the first
Paul
dungeon
can't
of the
read.
game, and it was really, really fun. I really specifically liked the dungeon elements a lot because it reminded me of what was lost in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
That said, I love Breath of the Wild, but I also really love that old dungeon puzzle solving kind of gameplay.
I did miss it for certain.
In addition to that, we had Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. Paul, you're the only one that in the end bought it.
And I still haven't really played it since I bought it.
I feel like this is a game I will get to because it's a game I regret not playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we'll have to go in at the same time, and then we'll get Paul back into it, right? Because that would be a great.
We have to do it before like Iceborne, because after Iceborne, this is going to play that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited! But this is a Nintendo podcast, so we'll keep talking about Nintendo games. If you're into the Monster Hunter series and you haven't played Generations Ultimate, or you're thinking about getting into the series, I won't say this is the best place to start. Maybe it does feature a lot of the content from the first 4 generations of Monster Hunter, but it's not as accessible as something like Monster Hunter World. So just kind of weigh your options. Definitely buy it if you like action RPGs, but you also have a friend who's already playing it.
Definitely that. What I was gonna say is that, like, compared to some of the other like classic styled Monster Hunter games, it is more accessible though.
That's
It's
true.
still not on World's level, but
Yeah.
I do feel like it was a step down from 4 in terms of the tutorial space.
mhm.
That said, it's not, like you said, it's not nearly as bad as it was like for Try, when we basically had to figure it out for ourselves. That said, part of that is what makes me proud to play Monster Hunter, because we came from nothing and we had nothing. We just had to figure it out. So that brings us to September. We have some games to talk about as well as a Nintendo Direct. But we'll start with the games. We have the Labo Vehicle Kit, the most interesting of the 3 Toy-Con kits revealed so far,
Yeah.
if you ask me.
I would also argue that it's the first one that they released that I feel would have a lot of use outside of just the built-in packed-in software.
Yeah,
This is something you could use for all kinds of games. This could be applied to a wide array of different titles.
Didn't
and it
they...
already has functionality with Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, I was about to say Mario Kart 8 has functionality with it.
Heard that the control setup they developed for it is bad,
Oh,
like nonsensically bad. So take that as you will.
Like they just kind of threw it together and was like,
Well,
This seems like
from what I
something people
understand, the
want.
gas pedal doesn't accelerate you,
"Oh,
and that's dumb.
okay.
that is
Yeah,
dumb."
Andre from Game Explain has a video demonstrating it, and he's just frustrated the whole time. That
I
said,
mean, if the gas pedal doesn't make you move, then I can understand that.
I think it activated like the super slide or the drift. Doesn't make any sense. That said, the Labo vehicle kit, definitely the coolest of all the kits so far. I was actually like tempted to buy this one because I just wanted to try it out.
Mhm.
But I feel like that's what's going to happen if I buy a Labo kit. I'm just going to try it out. And then I'll never touch it again. That's my fear.
I'm hoping the vehicle kit kind of starts to change the Toy-Cons and like how they're used in other games. I'm hoping they work on kind of integrating them more, giving you more purpose once you've assembled the Toy-Cons
Yeah.
to go on and use it for other things. If it's just the packed-in software, that gets old at some point, and then it's just cardboard taking up space.
Conman says, I got the vehicle kit and I haven't found time to build it yet.
Adulting.
It is like a several hour commitment, so like if you buy it and you're ready to build, just know you're gonna have to put away an afternoon for it. In addition to Labo Vehicle Kit, we had the release of Valkyria Chronicles 4. Didn't get a ton of attention, but this is a game that you should keep your eye on. I played the demo for this, and I actually really enjoyed it. Like, I've been thinking about picking it up for the last few days, but I've got Kingdom Hearts 3 looming over my head at the end of the month, so I don't want to really dive into another RPG.
I've played I believe the original Valkyrie Chronicles on the PS3 some, and I really dig this style of game.
Which also released on Switch, by the way.
It's essentially, if you guys touched like Codename Steam, they're essentially the same game, except Valkyrie Chronicles is better.
Yeah, you're not locked down to a grid. The art style is actually appealing.
Yeah. So
and it's anime, so if you're into that weeb stuff, there you go.
Also, I should know, I believe there is in the very first game in the Valkyrie Chronicles series, because it's a Sega published game, Sega game, there is a character from another series that makes an appearance in that game. I can't remember if it's the first or the second
Like
one.
a cameo or like an actual character?
I don't know, because I've never actually played that portion of the game. But Vise from... I talk about this game all the time, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because they need another...
Skies of Arcadia?
Skies of Arcadia, yeah.
Okay.
So, we need a remake of Skies of Arcadia. There's my plug.
There's a demo for Valkyria Chronicles 4 on the eShop. Go try it out. It's really, really cool if you've never played any of those games. In addition to that, one of my favorite games that came out this year is Wandersong. Came out in September.
Really? I don't think you've ever mentioned this to me before.
It's an indie game that got next to no attention at all, and it's very upsetting.
I should pick that up.
It's on sale right now. I actually almost bought it last night.
How much is it on sale for?
15, 16 bucks?
I thought it was
It's
15,
it's
16 bucks.
off. It's 20, I think.
It's $20.
Oh, okay.
If you like Paper Mario, if you like Paper Mario's style of writing, and charm, and if you like a really compelling plot, Wandersong's a fantastic purchase. It's colorful, it's inventive. On the right stick, you like control what note the bard sings, and that has different effects on the environment based on where you're at the time. And they keep doing cool and exciting things with it from the beginning to the end of the game. I absolutely adored my playthrough through it. I think I clocked in around 8 to 10 hours, so it's not a very long experience. So just keep that in mind. But I've grown to love the characters, and the developer just announced that they're making another game.
Ooh.
And I'm really excited to see what they come up with, because I love Wandersong, and I hope they make another one. In addition to that, Dragon Ball FighterZ released on Nintendo Switch. Fantastic get for the system. I love Dragon Ball Z. I mean, you guys do too, so we're all fans of the series.
This is one I've been waiting to pick up for a long time.
Please
I still
do.
need to.
It's so good. It's a fighting game similar to like Marvel vs. Capcom, but there's a level of accessibility to it that isn't intimidating. Like, I picked up the game and I started figuring out how it worked, and I was able to pull off stuff. And I felt like if I kept playing, it's a game I could get good at without having to, like, pour my entire soul into, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It has a vast array of cool characters from Dragon Ball that keep adding new DLC. Yeah, pick it up. It's got a fantastic art style. It looks like you're watching the anime when you play it, but all of the models are in 3D. It's a really cool effect that Arc System Works has gotten quite good at. In addition to Dragon Ball Fighters, we had a Nintendo Direct in September. And to be honest, I don't remember the majority of this Direct. All I remember is the ending of it.
I think you remember the start of it.
Oh, Luigi's Mansion 3. That's right. That's a game slated for 2019. That was a cool surprise.
Yeah.
Uh,
Cool.
Definitely wasn't expected. That's for sure.
yeah, it was. Don't tell me that.
The Poltergust, dang it!
The Poltergust was in the Direct trailer from Smash Brothers in August, and no one noticed. And
You know
I
what,
tried to
Brandon?
tell
You can live in your own universe, and I'll live in mine. Okay.
Well, my universe is bigger than yours. Luigi's Mansion 3 coming to Switch in 2019 goes back to the single mansion format from what it looks like, and it takes place in a really tall hotel, which is a really like cool environment for Luigi to be in, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited for that. They haven't announced who the developer is yet, but I'm pretty sure it's Next Level Games, who worked on Dark Moon. I don't love Dark Moon, I will say, so I'm a little worried. We haven't seen a lot though, so hopefully the next time we see the game, they really show off some cool stuff. That will probably be the October release. Now that I think about it, for 2019. In addition to that, at the end of the Direct, we've got the announcement of Isabelle as a fighter in Smash Ultimate, as well as a official confirmation that Animal Crossing is coming to Switch in 2019.
Animal Crossing! I love Animal Crossing so much.
Yep, I think it was a good time to announce it.
Yeah.
They didn't show any gameplay, but we were still like approaching the release of like Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu, as well as Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So
You know,
releasing gameplay would have not been the best at the time.
But at the same time, like, what are we expecting?
We just know the game is coming. That's literally
we know,
the
and
whole
then
purpose.
it's gonna look like Animal Crossing. I mean, it's not really so much about the gameplay as it is about like the content and changes to like the systems that how
That
you
is
get to
the
interact.
gameplay.
Right, but I don't know. I don't think it was not terribly important. Just the announcement itself was big, and then I will probably get gameplay no later than like E3. Like
It's coming out in the summer,
You think so?
guaranteed.
So
It's a good time for
well,
it.
then no
Kids are
later
off school.
than the summer, right?
No later than the Direct next week.
How much you want to bet the Direct is not going to happen next week? I'm calling it now.
I have no stock in that there's a Direct next week. I do have a feeling in my gut that there will be a Direct in the next couple weeks, but I'm not committed to the January 10th date like all of these rumors are suggesting.
Yeah.
What
That
date
said-
are you committed to then, Brandon? What
I
do
don't
you
commit
believe
to
in?
dates.
Brandon's afraid of commitment. You heard it here first, folks.
I predicted the date of the August 8th Direct for Smash Brothers. I got that right. I'll get one right every once in a while. So I was warning you guys about that one, and then it happened. I don't have insider information. What are you talking about? So yeah, a pretty cool way to kind of quell fears and anxiety amongst Nintendo fans. Just saying, hey, Animal Crossing is coming. So,
Yep.
and there was a lot of little stuff in that Direct that I don't remember. It's hard to when you set it up against stuff like Animal Crossing and Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Right. It's just so
Which
big.
is the
it just
reason
overshadows
they
it.
don't announce a whole lot when Smash is on the way.
Yeah.
That moves us into October with the release of Mega Man 11, Super Mario Party, The World Ends With You Final Remix, and Starlink Battle for Atlas. Wow, what a month.
Yeah.
It's like 4 big games. Mega Man 11 was a long time coming. Again, I've only played the demo. Really liked what I played. We'll probably pick this one up when I've got some extra time and some extra money.
Mhm.
Because, it was kicking my butt, though. So,
Yeah, I remember watching you play it a little bit.
it's Mega Man. That's what you have to expect. Super Mario Party, a game that I liked more than I thought I was going to, and that's a really good thing when it comes to Mario Party.
We had plenty of fun playing through this.
Yeah. I think Super Mario Party was a big step in the right direction for this series, because it's been a long time since a new Mario Party came out that I even remotely cared about.
I mean, it definitely like it did the job because like I'm no longer friends with your wife.
Yeah, there you
Not
go.
friends with her anymore, so it ended our friendship.
We've had some pretty incredible like
Comebacks.
Yeah.
I feel like
Like-
this is the game for it. Because they say like in like the last couple rounds, like this is the person we think's gonna win. And then they do everything in their power to make sure that person wins.
See, with the last few entries, it seems like they tried to balance like this, and then they were like, wait, we'll balance it in more interesting ways. But then there's still gonna be times where like there's gonna be comebacks like that. And like
There was
it's
one
not
where Alvin and I were like 4 or 5 stars behind, I think. And on the last turn, we were like 18 spaces away from the star.
And you rolled exactly what you. I do remember that.
We rolled exactly 18. We had the 2 times star card, and the star was already worth 2. So we landed on it and got 4 stars in a single turn.
that's beautiful.
And I think we won because of a bonus star after that.
Well, there was also the. I think it was like me and your wife versus Alvin and Dylan, and we all intentionally didn't tell Alvin that he could like go up and steal our star.
Oh yeah. We won. You and I won that one, didn't we?
Yeah,
It was also from a last turn comeback with a double star card.
there's been a lot of like a very amazing comebacks. I remember one particular that is. I don't think you were there for it, but I was like 5 stars ahead, and then your wife like convinced everybody to turn against me
Oh no.
after like losing for like 75% of the game. She stole my star and like convinced someone else to steal a star from me in like the last 2 turns, and that's why we're no longer friends.
Oh,
she
good.
win?
Yeah, she got both the
Wow.
bonus stars too,
That's crazy.
and all because I stole 1 star from her when I had nothing.
Wow, she came back with a vengeance.
Yeah, it was mean.
If you're looking for a great party game to play with some friends on the couch, pick up Super Mario
You also
Party.
don't want to have friends.
Yeah. If you're looking to remove some friends from your circle, also pick up Super Mario Party.
Well, and I think there's an important note. If you can bring some friends into the Super Mario Party fold and your friendships survive, you're gonna be stronger because of it. So
As much praise as I give Super Mario Party, there is a lot of things it needs to do better. I'm just so happy that it's a Mario Party I can have fun with again.
yeah,
Yeah.
and also in that same note, I feel like that can be said about like every Mario Party. So it's like we're back to par, right?
Yeah, pretty much. That said, we're not quite at par because there's only 4 boards in the game. That's a problem.
I'm still hoping for DLC. I doubt.
I
it at
think
this
I
point,
think we'll
but
get DLC. I don't think this game is dead yet. I think we'll get some more like freemium DLC thrown in there.
Hopefully.
Which I can't wait for because that'll give
I'd
me
pay
a
for it.
big reason. Also, if they brought just like regular online, that would be huge for me.
Please, instead of
Just-
the poopy online that's in there right now.
Yeah, just let us play boards. Like normal gameplay online.
There could be some really fun streams if we had that as a possibility.
Yeah.
In addition to Mario Party, we had the World Ends with You final remix, which added some additional story content to the end of the original game, remastered all of the music, and basically said, "What if the controls were bad?" and then put it on Switch. I really wanted this game, but I heard how frustrating the control scheme was, and that was the nail in the coffin that said, "Nope, not gonna buy it." A little unfortunate.
yeah.
But you know, it is what it is. I guess if I want to play it, I'll just buy the original DS cart. In
It's
addition to
cheaper
that,
to do that. So
that's true. There was Starlink Battle for Atlas by Ubisoft. On the Switch version, they had the Star Fox crossover content. I really like this game. I bought it on launch. Paul, you and I played around with it
Yeah.
when it first came out. The little toys, like the Arwing that came in the starter kit, they're really cool. Like,
Yeah.
if I was a kid, I would have been all over this kind of stuff. We would have bringing our ships over to each other's houses and playing co-op and doing that kind of stuff.
Making really ridiculous ships.
Putting all of our wings on one side of the ship.
Because you can do that, so why not?
Yeah, the game lets you get as creative as you want with the way that you put your ship together, and that's the cool thing about it.
Yeah.
I do think they need to work a little harder on the gameplay loop, because you kind of do the same 4 things on every planet, and the planets don't have a whole lot of uniqueness to them. So I think for a sequel, that would be the area they would want to focus,
Mhm.
and maybe a little bit on expanding on the toys, but spend more time building out the world, I think. They did release a pretty big update like this or last month where they added new monsters, new I guess it was mostly just new monsters, but they added a few new other things like mission types, I think, too. And I heard that maybe it would have been better if that was there at launch for our first playthrough. And I'm not done with my run yet, so that might be good for me.
Just
But I hope they
heads
keep
up-
supporting it.
Just heads up for anyone out there who's interested in this. Right now, you can get the starter pack with the Arwing figure for $30 on Amazon.
Yeah,
I'm not
it's getting
looking
pretty
at
cheap.
buying it myself. What?
And
Crazy.
if you aren't big on toys, if you buy the digital version, I think you get everything,
Yeah.
like all the ships, and it's also $30.
Yeah, I keep like looking. We're talking about these games that I haven't played or I haven't beaten, and I got my Switch right next to me, and I'm like, okay, should I play this game later? Oh, should I buy Wander Song? Like, it's really difficult because it's like I don't really have that much money to spend on this kind of stuff, but I'm looking at
Yeah.
it anyway.
Let's go ahead and dive into November, where we had three notable releases. We had Diablo 3: The Eternal Collection, which I believe is getting reviewed really well on Switch.
Mhm.
Taiko no Tatsujin: Drum and Fun, which is the English version of Taiko no Tatsujin, officially released in the West. And then Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. I haven't played Diablo 3, but I keep hearing that's a really good multiplayer game. You know, it's dungeon crawling, top-down view. Could be fun. Taiko no Tatsujin, you've heard me talk about this game up and down. I love it. This version that came out in the West didn't come with a drum. So you're going to have to weigh that. So, like, you can do what I did and buy a drum on Amazon and import it and play the game that way. Or you could play it with a controller, which I don't recommend.
I mean, you can buy the Western release of the game and still get the Japanese drum, right?
I believe so. I don't think they removed the functionality from the game.
That would be uber silly, going through extra
Yeah.
work just to remove that.
I feel like they shot themselves in the foot with this one. It's been, 14 years since Taiko no Tatsujin came out in the West, and they didn't release it with the drum.
Yeah.
That was a mistake. That was just a
Yeah.
straight mistake. The drum is like, it makes the experience.
That's the whole point of the game, is to beat a drum to the beat. That's why Donkey Konga is remembered fondly,
Yeah.
because of the Congo drums.
Yeah,
of
not because
curiosity-
of the actual game.
Right. Taiko is actually a good game, though.
How much was it to import that drum?
I think it cost me between $60 and $70.
Okay,
It's expensive.
It's a commitment for sure.
Because you can import the UK version of the game with the drum for 170. Might be better to buy just the game and then the drum. Import
Yeah.
the drum.
Now, I ended up buying the Japanese version of the game on the eShop back in July, several months ahead, because an English language patch came out like 2 or 3 weeks later. So now I just have the release that came out in the West anyway. The nice thing about this version is they didn't botch the song list. They didn't replace it with a bunch of American music. They just kept all of the music from the original release intact.
Mhm. That's a good call.
In addition to Taika no Tatsujin, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, and Eevee, Paul, you and I both picked up these games. I got Pikachu, and you picked up Eevee.
Wholly delightful.
Yeah, really though, I
Like
loved it.
I'm a huge fan of Gen 1, and so like being able to revisit it and kind of I like most of the changes they made to these games. So having it be just a little bit more accessible than Gen 1 was originally, it's just a delight.
And this is coming from two people who aren't like big competitive Pokemon players.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you guys are feeling kind of burned, but I mean, Gen 8 comes out this year. So
Yeah.
we're
But
pulling
even-
for you guys.
Also, I don't know why anybody would actually feel burned when these games come out so frequently anyway.
Yeah.
They
Like-
also were announced alongside one another,
Yeah.
but that's besides the point. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee are great for people who aren't super into the grind of Pokemon. They streamline a lot of the ways that you build your Pokemon stats, the way you level up, the way you capture Pokemon. They took a lot of the weight out of the series, which are basically all the parts of the Pokemon that I don't like.
Yeah.
I never liked random encounters. I don't like battling every single Pokemon, though I do agree that maybe introducing some more wild Pokemon battles back in would be good.
Yeah. They're having the option to, I think
Yeah.
would be good. Because there are times where like I didn't want to like waste Pokeballs on a Pokemon, but I also like didn't want the encounter to go to waste.
Mm-hmm.
But even like it's a weird thing, but even the co-op to it, I tried that out with my girlfriend for a bit, and we had a blast just playing through that.
I see, and that's something I haven't even tried yet, and I
You
finished
should
the
do
game.
it sometime. Help your wife beat
Oh, she beat it.
it. Oh, help me then.
Where are you at in the game?
I'm close to the end. I think it was the seventh gym. Cinnabar Island.
After you beat it, make sure to poke around the world a little bit for some pretty cool post-game battles that they don't tell you about.
Oh, will do then.
I mean, they were spoiled in the last trailer, but they're still in there, so go find
Oh,
them.
those. Gotcha.
Yeah, so if you haven't played Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, if you're like new to the Pokemon series, this would be a game I'd recommend. If you're into the more, hardcore competitive Pokemon type of gameplay, maybe this isn't for you. But for like a casual 25 hours of gameplay, I had an incredibly good time. I also played with the Pokeball Plus controller, which I ended up really liking. It was the only way I would play it. Hey man, I sent you that image yesterday if you still want to pick one up.
I wonder if they're still there. I might actually go and check to see if they're still available there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on clearance in some stores for like $15.
I saw that in Target. They're real cheap.
Yeah,
50
so did
bucks
we.
is like nothing.
Yeah, especially when it comes out at $50.
Oh yeah.
And it doubles as a Pokemon Go Plus. So if you like playing Pokemon Go, you have a rechargeable Pokemon Go Plus that you can just carry with you.
That's a good
I
deal.
definitely plan on playing a lot of Pokemon Go this coming summer.
If I get a better phone before the summer, and
Oh, now that you live here, Paul, we're
I'm
definitely
looking
going
forward to
on
that.
Pokemon Go runs.
man, I made a mistake not moving to Rockford.
Try telling you. So yeah, a great finish to the year with Pokemon Let's Go. But there was an even bigger finish to the year in December. Actually, a lot of games came out in December that we should talk about. There's Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom, which is a sequel to Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap. I know it's made by the same developer.
Hmm.
I think it might be more spiritual sequel. I'm not sure the exact parameters of that, but I really liked the original Wonder Boy remake on Switch, so I'll probably pick this one up. Gorgeous art style, like hand-drawn, like animated style.
Hmm.
It looks like you're playing a cartoon, which is really cool. In addition to that, we also had the Switch version of Carcassonne come out. which was made by Asmodee Digital, I think,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of the board games that they announced were coming to Switch earlier in the year. I'm probably gonna go back to this one a little later on, because I would definitely like to buy some of these board games and then play
Do
them
they
on
have
stream.
online?
Pretty sure.
Okay, because I'm a huge fan of Carcassonne. I'm a huge fan. Like years ago, I got like a box set with a bunch of expansions of Carcassonne, and I love that game to death. So,
In addition to that, we also had the release of Guacamelee 2, which is obviously a sequel to Guacamelee, a popular indie game. We also had the release of Donut County. You guys might be familiar with that game because his concept and idea was turned into a .io game on the App Store months before it released, and it drowned his game out. And that game, and the one that copied it, became super popular. Really sad story.
Yeah, I do remember reading that. It hurts.
It's really unfortunate, man. Imagine
Yeah.
spending years on a game just to have it lifted and turned around. It was an asset flip too, which is the worst thing.
yeah.
And then we had Katamari Damacy Reroll released on December 7th. Nothing else of note released on that date, just Katamari.
Yep.
I
That was
played
definitely like the highlight of December.
I played a couple hours of Katamari. This is the first time I've ever played this series, and it's super weird and goofy and dumb in all the ways that I love.
I finished it.
Oh, you
Really?
beat Katamari
I
already?
beat it. It's not a long game. It's for sure not a long game. Like there's only like 10 like primary levels and then like 6
they're
or
almost
7
done.
more like other like variants, right?
Oh, you
'Cause,
bought
like-
Katamari too, Paul?
I didn't, but my girlfriend did. We sat
Oh,
down
yeah.
and started playing that last night.
Is
God, it's so much
is it
fun.
multiplayer?
There is a
There's
multiplayer
mode.
Is it just versus or?
Yeah,
a
it's just versus.
Okay.
It's pretty bare bones. I wish I played a little bit with my brother. We played a few matches. I wish the online just kind of threw you into the same areas as the main game, you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
But-
it doesn't?
No, it just throws you in this arena with a bunch of objects and
That's weird.
It's like you're in a giant bowl.
yeah.
That's one of the things I loved about Star Fox Assault, is that all the multiplayer maps were lifted right out of the story campaign.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a odd choice. Well, that came out as well as the biggest boy game of the year, being Super Smash Bros. Ultimate,
Biggest boy.
which I think I'm close to eclipsing 100 hours.
I'm
actually
not.
surprised I'm not more than that yet.
How many hours do I have?
You're losing
I've
your
been
touch,
mostly playing World of Light, and I'm like right at the tail end of that.
Ooh, can't wait to talk to you about that.
I really need to sit down and like start working on that.
I have
All
over
end up doing is
45
versus.
hours.
The end of World of Light is so good. Like, don't expect any plot, but expect a real good time.
Yeah.
They do some stuff with that ending that absolutely blew my mind.
Right.
And I'm talking from a gameplay perspective.
Oof.
Mhm.
So definitely play that. Obviously, we've put so much time into Smash Ultimate. This has become the default game in my Switch because I bought a physical version.
I
So
bought
it's just going to
digital
be
so I
in there
didn't even have to
forever.
worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have too, but I wanted to play it like half an hour earlier than I would have been able to.
Understandable. Understandable.
Logan, you were there for the launch of Ultimate.
It was a good
me.
weekend. It's a very good weekend.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time playing it. You know, we eventually you broke down and bought your own copy
Yeah.
so we could both play World of Light.
I was like, I want to play this. And then
You
we
were
just
set
kind
up
of
on,
sat
like-
in the same room on different TVs.
Yep, we were like back to back to each other, just playing World of Light at the same
Yeah.
time. Yeah, it was a really fun time. The night before Smash Ultimate came out, we've talked about Smash enough. Obviously, we love this game, and we'll talk about it on many podcasts to come. But the night before Smash Ultimate released was the Game Awards. And in my opinion, it was the best show they've pulled yet.
Yeah, hands down.
Yeah,
Hands
you and
down.
I had a really good time watching it. A lot of great reveals were in there.
Yeah.
We had a pretty interesting setup. We were both in my basement. I had my studio lights down there, and the camera was set up on a tripod. And rather than recording the entire 2 hour or 2.5 hour thing, like anytime a world premiere trailer started, like I would have Logan jump up and hit the record button. And the one video we ended up uploading, like you almost didn't hit record for.
Yeah, you just had a sixth sense about it. You were like, no, this one.
I knew
really?
what was happening. Like I needed that button to get pressed.
It was like the one time they weren't like world premiere. It was just kind of like it happened.
There was two things in my mind. Like this, when the lights went out, I was like, this is either Metroid or it's Smash Brothers. It's gonna be one of them. And I was like, you need to hit the button now. And then when I saw Persona 5 come up on the screen, I was like, oh, maybe I got duped.
Nope.
But no.
There's no getting duped with Persona 5, man. Don't even.
Well, not duped as in like a disappointment. Duped as in I predicted what we were getting wrong. But no, it was a reveal trailer for Joker and Smash Brothers, which you didn't see it coming, for one thing.
Nobody saw
I
it coming.
Never saw it coming. I'm super excited about this. Like, I haven't played more than like 10 hours of Persona 5.
Fix that.
I'm going to. I'm just waiting for the Switch release.
Fair enough.
But I loved what I played of the game. I really loved the characters. The characters are incredibly well written in Persona 5. So I'm so excited to have Joker join the cast. All that such good Persona music that we're going to get. That might be the best part.
Yes.
And then whatever they come up with for the stage, because you know Persona 5 is highly stylized, so I think they could come up with a really cool looking stage for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the first DLC character revealed for Smash outside of Piranha Plant, who doesn't exist as part of the Fighters Pass. So there's 4 more coming out after him. There are some big old rumors going around right now, but we'll save that for a later discussion. But yeah, that made the whole Game Awards for me. Just getting a Smash Brothers announcement that quick after... I almost said after launch, but the game wasn't even out yet. We were still hours away from launch, and Reggie walked up on stage, and he's like, see that, guys? I brought it.
You did it, Reg. We didn't doubt you for a second.
Yeah, super cool. A lot of people were really pulling for Joker too, which I want to say is a little surprising to me because Persona 5 isn't a hugely like popular thing here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw so many people on Twitter like pulling for Joker. Relaxalax really wanted Joker.
I wasn't even thinking about that, but if I had,
Alpharad.
I would have been pulling for it.
Because you weren't able to see it live, right?
Mm-mm.
No. You said Dylan like came and told you how that
I didn't
happen?
believe him at first. I thought he was messing with me, honestly. Like it took me like a good like 10 minutes to process it. And
Yeah.
like stop and like look it up.
You
It's like,
legitimately
oh,
never saw
wow.
it coming.
I didn't. No.
And that was the only reaction video that Logan and I recorded that ended up on the internet. Yeah, I thought our reaction to that was pretty funny overall. I love it. Like as soon as we saw that Joker was coming, your first like the first thing you said was like, "I don't have any context for this."
Maybe one day I will. One day.
Hey, with Persona 5R, which you know we don't know exactly what that is yet, but we'll know in March. If that comes to Switch, that'll be a perfect way to find out.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of the year.
Wow. It's almost like it's 2019 now.
So we actually have a couple of awards that were given away that we'll talk about before we kind of discuss the year as a whole. But first up is Nintendo Game of the Year. And this can be any game, any single game that released on Switch this year. So, you know what, Paul, I'll start with you on this.
I'm torn here because It's Smash Brothers. I feel like it's hard not to say Smash Brothers because
I'm
it's the biggest
torn
thing.
that it's Smash Brothers.
Well,
I think
I
what
kind
you don't
of want
wanna
to twist it so that we're not just all saying Smash Brothers. You know,
Why don't
But
we
that's
do
what
this?
we're all gonna say.
the
What about
non-Smash Brothers
the
game,
What's Nintendo game of the year that isn't Smash Brothers?
and that I do have an answer for, and that's why I was torn. But for me, it was definitely Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I had a
Great
blast playing those.
Logan, what do you got? What's for you? What do you?
Well,
thinking?
okay, one, it's Smash Bros. Outside of that, I'm trying to think of like what I played on my Switch this year that came out this year. Because I mean, a lot of these are some older titles. I mean, obviously, I bought Overcooked 2, I bought The Messenger, I bought Crash. And then like Katamari's like the most like fresh in my mind that I played, right?
Right.
Also, that game only got released on PC and Switch. You know, that should be of note. And I just I sat around like, the week of Christmas, and I just played that game like within 2 days, and I just had a blast. And it's funny because it's a remake. It's not a new game.
That's true, but it still counts.
Yeah, so I'll probably say that one just because of just it. Here's what it did for me, and to provide just a smidge of context. You get older, life gets busier, gets more stressful, and sometimes it's really hard to enjoy the time you have to relax, right? Because sometimes something's burning in the back of your mind, and
It eats at you.
yeah, Katamari was the game that I didn't have to think a lot about, and it just put me in the zone for relaxing and enjoying a game.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what it did for me, and that's why it's my non-Super Smash Bros. Nintendo Game of the Year.
My Nintendo game of the year would be Super Smash Brothers, but since we are setting that aside, my Nintendo game of the year was the Splatoon 2 Octo expansion. This is the primary piece of first-party content that Nintendo put out this year that I loved the most. I probably put about 15 to 20 hours just into the Octo expansion on its own. It culminates in a really wonderful ending. It challenges me in a way that just the base campaign didn't, even a little bit. This is definitely a piece of DLC meant for players who are looking for something to fight back. Because it'll test your skills. For those of you who played, you already know. It has a wonderful story that I wasn't really expecting to get out of it, but it goes places that you wouldn't think it does. And of course, you get to play as your Octoling after you beat the main story. But I 100%ed it, which came with a secret final boss. A really cool secret final boss that kicked my butt. I think it took me over 5 hours to beat it. And my hands hurt so bad when I finally pulled it off. Because I was gripping my controller really hard because you can't let go for a second in that secret final battle. You will die pretty much immediately. I highly implore anyone who's looking for a serious gaming challenge from Nintendo this year to try it out. Try your best to beat that final boss, because holy cow, is it worth it. And then beat the secret boss, because you'll feel like a champion of all of existence.
Well, maybe I should play Splatoon 2 today.
So yeah, that's my Nintendo game of the year. I know it's not a game as much as it is an expansion on a game I played already, but it felt like a game to me. That brings us to indie game of the year. And Paul, I'll throw it to you again.
Okay, well, this is I have to go back way early in the year and give it to Celeste because that was one of the few indie games that like just gripped me, or just overall like one of the few games this year that just completely gripped me, and like I could not stop playing that game until I was done.
That's
It was
awesome.
just overall, it was an incredible experience, and like I don't regret the probably $15 I spent on it.
I look forward to that being my indie game of the year next year.
Me too.
And Logan, what is it for you?
That's a really good question because I feel like I didn't play like a ton of indie games. Obviously, I played The Messenger. I played, what else did I play? I feel like Sonic Mania, even though technically it's not an indie game, feels like an indie game, just because like.
Well, I mean, it was developed by an indie studio, wasn't it?
I mean, this is very true. Yeah,
It was
I
just
guess
published
it
by
was.
Sega.
Ooh. When did SteamWorld Dig 2 come out?
That was early this year, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think you might be right.
Either that or it was late last year.
Yeah, because I bought SteamWorld Dig earlier this year, and I actually finished that game, and I'm a big fan. Yeah, it was like late 2017. It's a really good question.
That's why I had mine picked out before we got here.
Yeah, I just didn't play a ton. I think I'm gonna go with The Messenger, because I was just really digging that game. Even though I haven't finished it, and I need to go back and finish it. Again, I said this earlier. The humor is just really, really fun. The actual gameplay is a lot of fun as well. Nothing better than being a ninja and jumping around and slashing stuff up, and I think it deserves all of the accolades that it has gotten thus far. So we're gonna
All
go
right.
with that.
My indie game of the year is Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. No, I'm kidding. It's Wander Song. Wander Song just spoke to me. Like it hit home for me because of all of the similarities to Paper Mario. The emotion of the story really got to me, and the way it integrates song just into its entire identity.
Mm-hmm.
There's this chapter where you're going around with a bunch of coffee pirates. They pirate coffee.
I love that.
It's so good. And there's like a world map with the ship that you can like sail around on the sea and go from island to island. And the way that you guide the ship is by using the right stick and singing in the direction that you want to go. And when you sing in that direction, all of the pirates start singing a sea shanty alongside you. And the moment that happened, I knew that I loved this game. Because it just
But
made me feel happy.
I didn't just buy this game. What?
It's so good. Like
I'm so close to it. So close to just dropping.
it's a little upsetting that not a lot of people got to experience it. I know it's a very niche kind of game, but at least give it a shot because I think you'll learn to love it. That brings us to the next category: favorite reveal / trailer moment. And Paul, I'm going to throw it to you again.
So my favorite reveal / trailer moment was just Super Smash Brothers.
Which one?
Yes, it's probably the Everybody's Here. Just getting down to that and like seeing all your boys returning to this
Yeah,
to
boys.
the arena. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's such a nice feeling.
Yeah, you can. And judging by our reaction video to that, I think it's pretty clear that that was an incredible moment for all of us.
You didn't cry when Snake came back. What?
I was very happy when Snake came back. Logan, what was it for you?
If anybody's been following the channel and seen some of the reactions, it shouldn't be surprising that Animal Crossing is hands down my favorite reveal of this year. And I couldn't be more
I didn't see
excited for
that coming.
2019. Couldn't be more excited. And so I'm gonna make a lot of content based around that game when it comes out.
You
Because
should.
it's gonna be one of those games like that I'm gonna find every way to make sure that I have that game on launch day. Like no questions asked. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I think Animal Crossing is going to be a great game for our community just to play together. Our Discord's going to be very lively when that game comes out, I think. There's going to be a lot of trading and just like hanging out in each other's towns. But for me, my favorite reveal / trailer moment was the World of Light reveal in the final Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Direct. I wanted a single player adventure mode so bad. And like Sakurai was getting ready to end that direct until he one more thinged me.
He one more thing do so hard.
Yeah, I love the way he did it too. He's like, "Oh, and then let's talk about the adventure mode," as if it was something we knew about already. Such a nonchalant like reveal, so good.
Yeah.
And then he played the opening cutscene to the game. Well, a cut of the opening cutscene of the World of Light. You get to see all the characters together trying to escape Galeem's like killer attack, which brought back memories of all the characters being wiped out by Taboo and the Subspace Emissary.
Right.
And rather than building us up to that point, Sakurai started us there, which I thought was an interesting take. And while World of Light doesn't have a lot of plot, I just really like the approach to the mode in itself. Like, you know, you have these characters who are possessed by these spirits, and then the battles are designed to be as close of an approximation to these characters as you can get. And like, it's fun when you do them, and you can like piece together like their train of thought.
Yeah.
There was one where well, that's a spoiler. I'm not going to talk about that. It was a spoiler for a different game. Because they put the final boss in there and then like framed it perfectly, just like the ending of that game. And it really hit home for me. World of Light may be long. There may be like 650 spaces on that board.
Oh, wow.
But I played every single one of them. You don't have to in order to beat it. Keep that in mind. Yeah, and the thing is, like, I got emotional during the World of Light reveal because they also revealed like the opening theme of the game too.
Yeah.
In that trailer. So it just kind of all came together for me. And then, you know, after the game came out, I found out that those emotions were worth it because I thought World of Light was fantastic. So yeah, that's my favorite reveal, favorite moment. And we'll turn it around. Number one disappointment of the year. Paul, I'm going to throw it to you.
And I actually had this picked out. And so disappointment of the year for me is that Monster Hunter still isn't playable in Smash Brothers. It's the only thing I want at this point. The only thing I want, in addition to Ultimate, is to play as my boy Monster Hunter.
Please. That's my number one. So I'm with you there. Hopefully he's one of the 5, but if these DLC rumors are anything to go by, I think we're going to be sad.
It's okay, I already cry myself to sleep every night, so might as well keep doing it, you know?
Logan, what's your disappointment of the year?
My biggest disappointment of the year that was Animal Crossing was not released in 2018. Because,
Fair enough.
I mean, I've been pulling for it so hard. I mean, and that's probably why the reveal was so big for me, right? Because I was
like
anticipating.
really play it up too.
Yeah. So I'm glad that we finally got the reveal. I'm glad it's coming in 2019. But I was very much disappointed that we didn't get it this year.
Understandably so. I'm right there with you. My biggest disappointment of the year was Mario Tennis Aces. When that game came out, it didn't feel done. That said, like, the gameplay of Mario Tennis Aces is fantastic. It's everything outside of that makes it fall apart. But they've been constantly updating the game. Even to this day, they're still adding stuff and tweaking things. Like they changed how the entire online tournament system works because they recognized a problem. So they fixed it. So I'm excited to see where that game goes. They just announced a few weeks ago that Pauline is coming to the roster as a playable character. And that's super cool. Like, that's something I wasn't expecting. And something that I wanted in the base game. So while it was a disappointment in its launch state, it's something that I look forward to seeing grow over the next few months. Because it's grown a lot already. But overall, it was my biggest disappointment of the year because I'm a big Mario Tennis fan. And that brings us to our last category. We're going to look into the future a little bit with this one. And Logan, I already know what your answer is. So I'm going to throw it to you. What's your most
Animal Crossing 2019 is on its way! It's finally coming!
The category is most anticipated Nintendo game of 2019.
And Logan doesn't really care for Animal Crossing that much, so...
Not that much. Just a little
He doesn't
bit.
even really like that at all. He doesn't play it, you know. Wasn't looking forward to it.
Give us Animal Crossing.
So we know what Logan wants. Paul, what are you looking forward to?
So far, it's the top of my list is actually Fire Emblem Three Houses. I'm really, really looking forward to that game because I really love Fire Emblem. And everything they've shown of that game so far just looks really good.
Been 10 years, I think, since we had Fire Emblem on a home console. So this will be a big return for that.
It's going to be a fun one. I plan on picking that one up.
Yeah, me too. For me, I can't even say this with utmost confidence because I don't even know if it's going to happen, but my most anticipated game is Metroid Prime 4.
It's not happening this year.
I'm going to hold out hope.
I like your optimism there, Logan.
It's 2020.
I think
2020
Metroid
at the
Prime
earliest.
4 is the E3 game. I guarantee it.
Nope.
I'm putting money down.
Don't
Ooh.
Don't put money down. It's going to cost you.
I'm putting a whole dime.
I can't
bet
wait
you would
until we
die.
have this
Big
discussion
spender over here.
in the beginning of 2020, and I can tell you how wrong you were.
Well, let it be known, I'm betting you a whole dime that Metroid Prime 4 comes out next year.
Shows you how confident you are.
Well, you haven't bet me any money.
Because I don't think it's happening. Oh, I guess I
have
could
to-
bet you money that okay. I'll bet you $20.
$20?
I'll bet you $20.
This is getting interesting. Okay. Look at
Are
you
you
guys.
are you gonna raise your 10 cents?
You know what? I'll handshake you on that.
Yo, $20 bet. $20 bet. All right, you heard it here. We can reference this.
An official bet. I'm betting Metroid Prime 4 comes out next year. Logan's betting it doesn't. Put $20 down on it.
Wait, was it that it was coming out next year or that it's the E3 game?
I bet it's coming out next year.
Yeah, well, just if it's
Okay.
coming out next year. That's the.
You should have gone for E3 game, but okay.
You think that's more likely?
Yeah.
Well, that's a bigger. Well, I guess it depends, right? Because if it is the E3 game and it doesn't come out this year, but he said it was coming out this year. I don't think it's coming out this year.
All right. That's the big bet of 2019. All right. So now that we've kind of gone through everything, we've awarded our awards to various games and various moments of the year. Paul, I'm going to start with you. How are you going to grade Nintendo's 2018?
That's a tough one. For me, it wasn't quite as strong as like 2017. It was still a solid year. But I'd probably have to go like B-, somewhere in that range.
Okay. I think that's fair given what we've looked at here. Logan, what are you thinking?
I'm feeling a strong 5 stars out of 7.
That's the Arlo scale.
So pretty strong year. Pretty strong year, but there was a few ticks missing. So I think 5 out of 7.
I'm gonna give it a 5 golden bananas out of Shigeru Miyamoto. No, I'm kidding. I'm gonna probably give it a B minus myself. That's kind of what I was thinking going into this discussion.
Mhm.
Uh, truth be told, I was going to grade it worse before we had this conversation. But as I was filling out the list of games that came out throughout the year, I realized that I was looking at this from the wrong perspective. I was looking at it from a first party perspective, but there's so much stuff here.
Yeah.
Like you look at months like June and December even, like, and they're just packed with games.
Well, I'd say that was kind of Nintendo's goal, the way I always interpreted it, to get that like strong third-party support and have it so that they're not the only ones occupying the system and the only ones selling games for it. This
Yeah.
was a good year to like for them to step back and let these other third parties shine, and they did.
And for the first time, it feels like Nintendo does have third party support.
Yeah.
And like
yeah.
I can say that with confidence. It's been a long time since that's been the case, since the Super Nintendo. If we're talking home consoles, because obviously
Mhm.
handhelds have been a different story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a B minus as well. My original score was a C plus.
I was between the C plus and the B minus, and looking back to that list, it was B minus.
And then when you look at 2019, we've got Luigi's Mansion 3, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Pokemon 2018, Yoshi's Crafted World, possibility for Metroid Prime 4 and Bayonetta 3. There's already a lot on the docket from the
I
first
can't
party
believe you didn't
perspective.
say Animal Crossing.
I left it out specifically for you.
He left it out because none of us are excited about it. So
But yeah, like just the prospect of 2019 is already more exciting than 2018 in terms of like Nintendo software.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that's pretty exciting because Nintendo always releases or announces and drops games in the same year. So there's a little bit of that we haven't even seen yet.
Oh yeah.
So I think 2019 might have the potential to be 2017 or greater. I mean, the reason 2017 was so strong is we got, Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, and ARMS.
Oh yeah.
These big first-party games all in the same year.
Well, they came out swinging.
Yeah, I mean, you launch the console with Zelda, you end the year with Mario. A 3D Mario that we haven't had since Galaxy 2.
Mm-hmm.
Or more specifically, since Super Mario Sunshine, if you're going by format. So yeah, 2017 was hard to beat as it is for Nintendo. But given what they had going for them, I think they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for 2019. Sounds like you guys are as well. We're going to get a glimpse at our first Nintendo Direct here sometime soon. And that, I think, will put the first 6 months of the year into perspective for us. We'll see what's kind of coming down the pipeline. In the first 6 months, I expect Yoshi's Crafted World and Fire Emblem to be out on the system. Because Fire Emblem is slated for spring, and so is Yoshi.
Mm-hmm.
And I expect those games to be out before E3. So, remains to be seen. But I think that's where we can leave it off for now. I know it's been a while since we've been here, but we're getting back on the schedule. Holiday break is over.
It's over.
Just as a quick update, I currently don't have a computer to work on videos with. This is my wife's laptop, which I barely got functioning enough to even get on the podcast. My computer's currently being worked on. I hope it gets fixed because there's something in this box I need to make a video on. Paul, you
I
need to help
wonder
with
what
that
it could
one.
be.
Yeah. What's in this box? You'll find out hopefully next week.
Yeah, you guys should guess what's in the box in the Discord.
Guess what's in the box? If you're right, you win nothing. Okay, guys. With all that in mind, follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at Babababs. You can follow Logan at LoggyDubs. You can follow Paul at Gunnysaurus. You can follow us as a collective at Breakroom Arcade. If you want to talk to us even further, you can join our Discord. Link to that is in the description. And if you're new here and you liked what you saw or heard, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like. It really helps us out. You'll also find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, other podcasting sources. If you leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts, it really helps us out. So please do that. If you do, thank you so much. If you want to become a member of the channel, hit that little money-looking icon on the chat, pop it out, and head over to us on YouTube Gaming, where you can become a member of the channel and get some sweet benefits. Get that cool badge you can see Dream Drop Sora has on his icon there in the chat. And otherwise, we also have a link to our Patreon if you want to help us there as well for as little as $1 a month. Everything helps. We want to keep doing this for you. We just got to work around our jobs. So the one goal is that this becomes our job. Maybe not next year, but the year after that. Want to aim for that? Is that the goal?
That's a good goal.
100K by the end of the year. That's my goal.
Big dreams.
I'm going for it. I'll try and make it happen best I can.
Yeah.
So with that, I think we're going to wrap it up. Make sure to come back for the Breakdown podcast. We don't currently have that scheduled yet because of my computer situation. And everybody's schedules are kind of out of whack. So we'll figure it out, but we'll come back together for another 2018 in review. But we're going to talk about movies, anime, games from other systems, and just other big events in 2018 that were really important to us. And we'll get to that to you guys in the Breakdown podcast. But for now, we will talk to you guys next time. Don't break your backs. Break in the games. For now, break time's over.
Peace.